Kia ora koutou. So last week I put out a video called Handling Uncertainty, and I spoke about three key um, things for me that helped me to handle uncertainty at the beginning of this year. And they were having support, balancing my masculine and my feminine, like what I do and the space that I made for me to just be and feel. And the third one was being prepared and for the action that I'm taking. So in this video, I want to speak about in more depth the importance, the power, the benefits, the everything of allowing in support. Allowing in support and potentially other, like the different levels of support that we can allow in and receive. So I was thinking about this over the weekend after having some conversations, and I was, after I think about things, I then like random little examples or pictures come up for me, and I thought, yeah, this is really important to talk about. So what happens when we're going through struggling times, challenging times, when we are experiencing suffering? What happens? And when I say what happens, I mean, how does that affect the life that we can see around us? Well, the change that we may see within ourselves when we are going through challenging times is that we have less energy because maybe we're not taking care of ourselves, or we don't have as much energy to take care of ourselves, to do the things that we used to do. So we've got less energy, lower energy, lower life force. We've got there can be effects on our finances because these are all just high level what you potentially may see. It's not a guarantee. It may look different to you, but there may be effects on finances because maybe not doing as much work, or there's just less drive because of that energy. And there can be tolls on our relationships. So meaning we move further away from our relationships. We isolate more, right, when we're going through struggle and challenge. And the reason why I mentioned this in my video last week was because it was one of the things that I saw and noticed was very powerful upon my journey, how I just naturally called for help and called for people to come in and support me, and how open I was to that. And this is kind of like the key word here, is being open to that support, because our mind can start to tell us many things about why we shouldn't ask for help. I just recall my mind, or the thoughts in my mind being like, oh, they're gonna think XYZ of you, or just the dialogues that can enter in our mind to talk us out of things that are healthy for us. Amazing. Okay, it's amazing what dialogues will enter in our mind. And in this challenge that I moved through in January, I just noticed that the first thing I did was just want to call in support. And later on, like after I would call in support, I did actually notice how amazing that was and how different that was, because there have been times in the past where I'm going through something and I just go in my cave and just shut everything out. But it felt important for me this time to call support in. I knew that I wasn't going to get there on my own. And when I looked back at the journey in hindsight, like after going through this legal challenge and looking back in hindsight, I was like, I absolutely did not do that on my own. Like there were my sister gangsters by my side at all times. whether they were there in the physical, sometimes like in person, or maybe just being available in Messenger, or maybe I could just see them seeing my post that I put in our private group, and then like maybe they would, maybe they weren't there all the time, but they were there. I could feel them, and I knew that I had a safe space. I had created a safe space for me to be able to take what's in here and get it out so that it can be witnessed. Calling in support looked like many different forms. And it's got many different purposes, like obviously the support that I called in from a lawyer who was really beautiful is different to the support of my sisters, who are going to not give me legal advice, but they are going to give me advice for my wairua. They're going to fan my flames and keep the wind going, behind my sails as I'm, voyaging. They're going to be keeping up this momentum with me. So people played their different part. Just like my sisters, they would listen to every word. Maruto is not trying to listen to every single word about what this challenge was for me. He wasn't that person for me to just sit down and just explain every single word, whereas, my sisters were. And then Maruto would be there for me in other ways that my sisters weren't. So everyone played their part. And that can only happen when we totally open ourselves up to receiving support, receiving help. Because we need help when we are struggling. We need help when we are going through challenge. We need help. We need guidance. We need support. The reason why I'm making this video is because I can see that sometimes when we're going through it, we can shut out. We can go in the cave and we can shut the door and we can just stay in there. And you know what? When we do that, it's just us and those dialogues, and it can go. It can go. It can get away on us when we stay in isolation. So, and I don't mean just physical isolation. I mean when we close down what's going on for us, and we don't share it. We keep it isolated within the confines of our own mind and our own tinana, for whatever reason. Like literally for whatever reason, we decide that it's safer to keep it all to ourselves. The greatest gift we can give ourselves is to out what is going on for us in a safe space. So I created a group on Facebook, a private group that was called a safe space to share. And that's where I shared for 2 months. I shared when there was an update, I shared. And it was a safe space for me to out everything that I was experiencing. This is what we can do, and we just have to tell the truth about what we're going through, what we're feeling. And the reason why a safe space is different is because you're safe. So it doesn't matter what you say or what you do. You are completely accepted in that safe space. So I was not going to be going out on Facebook, right? Because to me, Facebook, where there's thousands of people that can just watch me, that's not safe for me. So I wasn't going to be sharing every detail out there. So I think to wrap it up here, I just wanted to just making this video in its own lane in itself shows how, for me, it just shows how important it is. If we try to go at things alone and we isolate what's going on for us, we isolate our thoughts to just our own mind and our own tinana, then the very vessel that and the thinking that's going to be required to move us through, to navigate, to row that waka, to take on those 40-foot waves. The very vessel, the very vaka that is carrying us, meaning our body, with our thinking and our energy levels in our body, that vessel is under immense stress and pressure because we're holding everything in. We're holding it all in, as well as trying to move through challenge, and it's just not sustainable. It's just really not. So we have to offload, we have to out what's going on, we have to get out what is going on in a safe space for us, so that we can clear our mind of these dialogues that can get in there, clear our body of how we're feeling. As soon as we start to share something and we out something in a safe space, emotion starts to come. Tears is pain leaving the body. So when you have a safe space to share and these tears start to come, if that's what happens, or when this emotion, you can start to feel this emotion in your body, you can clear that out. It's leaving the body, so you've got more capacity to row that waka. We can't ask our vessel to both take us to where we want to be going, take us to new shores, whilst we are we ourselves are putting pressure and weight and heaviness. We're putting that on ourselves by keeping it to ourselves. Now, I must admit, there isn't, me and one of my sisters were talking about this, that there's, people need a safe space to be able to share vulnerably, to be able to speak their truth, what's going on for them. And there's not there's not as many safe spaces around as there are vape shops. They just randomly came in, but I'm like, I wish, there's a vape shop on every single corner, these days in many parts of the world. And I wish there was that many safe spaces in the world where people could just walk into and have a safe space to share, to be themselves. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that safe spaces aren't that common. So what we're going to have to do, and this is imperative, is we have to create it. We have to ask. We have to ask for, for if we can share, or we can invite people into spaces that we create and let them know that we're sharing, during this time. I'm here for normalizing that. If you're watching this and you don't have a safe space, create it, invite me. Create it and then invite me, and I'll be there, right? Create the safe space and then invite me in, and then respect my boundaries. That would be the other thing. I was just talking to my my mama, and there was a cousin that was, messaging her quite frequently, and she had to say, hey, it's too much, the amount that you're messaging is too much. And the whānau member said, oh, aroha mai, sorry, can you let me know how much is okay? And yep, mum told her how much was okay and what was, within her capacity to respond to. And in the end, my whanaunga said, thank you so much, Auntie. Everyone just kind of blocks me if I get too much. So it's good to know how much is okay for you, and you're not just blocking me. And I thought that was really beautiful, and that's the power of boundaries. So if you want someone in need of a safe space to share because you're moving through a challenging time, you create the space, invite me, or invite anyone that you feel is a safe space for you, and then set your intentions and be respectful of people's, also their lives. And then, start to call that support in and receive that support. Yeah, that's the reason why I make this in its own video. It's because once you free up that all of that from your being, from your vessel, then we can talk about things like balancing the work and the being. We can talk about being prepared for action. When your vessel is under pressure from the dialogues and has got no external support, very hard to, be prepared. Very, very, very hard to perform at the level that you need to perform at. Because you're just trying to survive. If you don't have that support, you're trying to survive all on your own. So create that support, call in that support. And to end this video, there was a point when I mentioned, and I was talking about this with a sister on the weekend, there was a point where I mentioned about receiving support, wairua, so from the more spiritual realm. the phrase that comes to mind is God helps those who help themselves. You can swap out that word for nature, life. Life helps those who help themselves. Nature helps those who help themselves. God helps those who help themselves. Okay? This talks about self-responsibility. If we're not helping ourselves, if we're closing off, pushing everyone out, we're not opening up to support, yet we're calling to, to our tupuna, to our ancestors for guidance, for assistance, but we're closed off to the support in the physical. It doesn't work. Well, for me, it doesn't work like that, because I'm not helping myself here. Therefore, I'm kind of, if I'm not helping myself in the physical, then I'm putting all my reliance on the realm of the spiritual, okay? And that's a whole lot of heavy lifting if my vessel is under pressure, if I'm isolating, if my thoughts are and my dialogues are going, are heavy, and I've got low energy, and I'm not, I'm not looking after myself, and I've isolated, I'm not, I'm not receiving support from anybody. That's a lot for that's a lot to be asking for help with, when we're not even taking responsibility for ourselves. You know what I mean? So it's like a little bit of give and take when it comes to our wairua, and asking our ancestors for help and guidance in our tupuna. I mean, of course they always come, but it's like we get what we give, right? Well, so I believe. So yeah, that's just some food for thought. I mean, it's like anything, it's like anything, that manaakitanga that we give ourselves, and which is given to us. So I'm going to leave this here. Just on the importance of of calling in and allowing support during our challenging times. If you have any questions, leave them below. Reach out to me. I do check comments, so do let me know if you need if you have any questions about this. Thank you for tuning in. Catch you on the next video. Ka kite.